I built this slider to bend my robot's spine. Watch what happens when I slide it. Nothing. No error. No crash at all. The number is changing right now, and the robot isn't moving. It took me an hour to find out why, and by the end of this week, that wasn't even the strangest thing that happened. Before any of that, I couldn't even start. My entire CAD pipeline ran on one Python library, and it was completely missing. Not a quick install either. It isn't public. My first instinct was to take a rough replacement and just keep moving. Instead, I had the AI search my entire machine, every folder, instead of guessing, and it found out the real thing, sitting quietly inside a completely different installation folder, bundled there for months, never touched. The fix wasn't installing something new, it was noticing something already existing. With real tools finally, I measured the actual base height, the place, the part, everything else is bolted to. My code was assuming it was 48 millimeters long since the day I wrote it. I measured the real part as well, 14 millimeters of pure assumption, sitting untouched in my own design for months, and nothing ever flagged it because nothing ever checked. It gets worse. The real part has 3 mounting holes holding up the leg underneath it. My code never modeled them. Not wrong, just never there. So I rebuilt the missing leg from scratch and checked the mates against the real part 1. Number at a time, 346.0778 cubic millimeter. Both of them 4 decimal places. That's what it actually feels like when a model tells you the truth instead of agreeing with you. Next, 2 new holes for the string that actually pull the spine. I positioned them exactly on the spine's own tendon holes, cut them. Watch the maths confirm the cut was clean and rendered for visual verification. On, not hidden, not small, just completely upset. Like I would never touch this file. It took a while to realize what actually happened. I'd cut the hole into my own simplified stand-in for the part, not the real. The ground truth file the render was actually using 2 files nearly identical, the classic get issue, sitting side by side. And I've been confidently editing the file which nobody was even looking at. So back to the slider. I checked that number, it really was changing. I checked the formula rating, it correct. I could ask the software directly and get the right answer. 2 things confirmed true, and the robot on screen still hadn't moved a single degree. What's left? When both of the obvious answers would check out? Well, the software only notices the change if you tell it you change something, drag a value by hand in the interface, and it knows automatically. Change that exact same value on the script, which is exactly what a real servo command would do. And it stays silent unless you explicitly flag it as dirty yourself. One function call, that's the entire bug. And that one line and the identical code that sat froze for an hour bends the spine exactly as much as the math says it should. Once the single line was in, the rest came together fast. The servo angle now goes both directions, matching how a real servo actually swipes, not just one way. The spool pulls the tendon and both arms bolted onto it fine together on the exact same input, because on the real hardware they are just same physical output. And I added 2 independent ratio controls on one for spool speed and one for the spine bend, so I can experience experiment with completely different hearing before any of the hardware is finalized, without the 2 motions being locked to each other. I even gave the design a placeholder for the servo, right where it belongs. First time all week, this looked like one real, complete mechanism instead of a part quietly floating in empty space. So here's this actual diagram is. This is simulation and not the real arm moving yet. That fight is completely separate and is still ongoing. The spine's exact size isn't locked in. I changed it once already this week, and I will probably change it again. 4 different things look correct and went in a single week on a robot that isn't even moving yet. I only caught every one of them because I refused to accept the confident looking answer and made each one prove itself with a real number instead. That's not a glamorous lesson, it's the actual job. 4 different lies in my own code told me this week, and I only caught them by checking. That's what building this in public actually looks like. Not just the weeks something explodes. The quiet ones do. Subscribe for the next one. Locking the spine size and getting back to the control loop that still isn't solved.